So the next step is that I want to drill holes in order to pierce through these open areas. And so the first thing that I need is I'm going to use a center punch to set a little divot so that our drill bit doesn't move around. And so I'm going to just show you where that is, since our studio is kind of, we've got tools everywhere. So when you open this cabinet, there's a little fastener here to open the cabinet there. And you'll see that there's a drawer that says center punch. And so you're going to grab one of the center punches. I still make sure that there's an actual tip on it. And then I'm going to have you grab a chasing hammer while you're in here. And you want to grab a chasing hammer that the end is really beat up. So some of these chasing hammers, this is actually what we're calling a finishing hammer that we use for riveting. So if there are no marks in the hammer, do not use that one. You want one that has a bunch of marks in it, because a chasing hammer is meant to be a hammer that's steel on steel. Some of these that are the same shape, we have them finished really perfectly so that we can set rivets with them and do things on the finishing side. So please always look at the face of your hammer first. If you're going to be hitting steel on steel, then it should have a ton of marks on it from previously hitting steel on steel. We also have these center punches as well that are here, and these are spring-loaded center punches. So when you push down on this, a spring just kind of divots into it, and I'll go ahead and show that on one of them. But with what we're doing, you need to adjust this portion really loosely so that the spring-loaded doesn't make a big divot, since we're using copper. There is a steel anvil here, and we want the tiniest little divot. And so I'm going through the paper, so I don't need to push too hard or hit too hard. And so that's a good enough divot. I could put a couple of divots in these open spaces, and in a second I'll zoom in on the piece of metal so that you can see where I put it. I'm putting it well to the inside of the design because once I drill the hole out, I don't want the halo to cut into my beautiful chair piece. And then let's try this spring-loaded one. This is one that I've loosened quite a bit already. And so you push it down against that steel, and then it just pushes itself, so no hammer needed on this one. So pretty cool tool, but this part needs to be really loosened. So if it's really tight like that, it's going to spring and it's going to make a big old divot into your piece. So be a good roommate, put everything back. And that's also why I use this steel here, just so that I can pop it right back where it needs to go. Good way to check and make sure that I didn't go too hard is I should barely be able to see the mark on the back. If I see a big divot, then I've been hammering too hard. Let's go to the drill press. Okay, so we have two drill presses set up over here. Reminders on safety. So these are flex shafts that then are put into a drill press here. And so you can see that you can go up and down like this. You can also adjust the height of the bottom platen here. And then you can also adjust the depth of the drilling the hole here. You want to make sure that there's a wood block here. If there's not one in there, then you can find one in the cabinet underneath. And then we have all of our chuck keys are on magnets here, right where we can use them. And so I'm going to go here with the chuck key, the gears attached like this. If you can't see a place for the chuck key to go, this thing might have accidentally been turned backwards or something. So you should see a little hemisphere of an opening here, and then the chuck key comes in, and the gears just go with the gears, and lefty-loosey and righty-tighty still. So drill bits in our classroom, you're going to find them in a little container down here, and then you'll also find the drill bit gauge plate here. There's also another gauge plate in that same cabinet where I just came from. So these are labeled. Generally, I wouldn't trust that they're in the right location, so it's a good thing to go ahead and get your gauge plate out no matter what. There's all of these holes with numbers here, and what we are doing is we're doing the 1 to 80 drill bits. And so I'm just going to grab like a 55 or something that will give me. Actually, I grabbed a 52. So you take the shaft of the drill bit, place it in the hole, and then I know that that's a 52 drill bit. For later when we rivet, you'll really need to know what the drill bit size is for the material. But for now, I just want a big enough bit that I can get my piece in. I'm generally never using these big bits in my non-ferrous metal. I'm usually cutting circles out whenever they're big, or stamping them out with another tool, and we'll kind of talk about that later. But with non-ferrous metal, we can't usually vise down our piece because it will dent the material. And so it's really important that you are using the proper RPMs and that you're using the proper safety. So as far as safety goes, there is a foot pedal that is firing this, and it's down on the ground. So make sure that you know where that is before you start doing something, so that you don't accidentally turn the foot pedal on while you're working with it. So I have to open up the teeth of the flex shaft in order to get the bit in there. And so I'm going lefty-loosey, and then I'm feeding in the bit. I don't want the actual cutting teeth to be up in the tool, and so I'm just doing it into the shaft of the bit, and then I'm tightening down. And if there are multiple places, you can tighten down from multiple sides, like on a big drill press. I like to get my hands out of the way. I have safety glasses on no matter what over here, and then I also have my hair up. I have an apron, covering everything up, but I don't have any jewelry that could get stuck in here. So no dangly earrings and dangly necklaces and stuff that could get pulled into the press. And then I like to test it real quick with my foot to make sure that it's centered. And so if it wasn't, it would wobble around like crazy. And then I already checked to see if it's tight. So next step, I'm going to put my bit down to where I'm getting ready to drill, and then I'm going to barely start my foot pedal and then go through. So let's see it from a little bit closer of an angle. Again, I'm holding all the material down. I usually have my hand holding the platen on the bottom, and so here I've got my middle finger on the platen on the bottom, and I'm holding down nice and tight. And then this hand is not pushing down hard. So I've checked the divot to where it needs to go. Again, you might be in locations where you need to move the platen or move the wooden block around, but make sure that you've set it to the divot first. Hold it nice and still. I'm starting with low RPMs. And I keep the RPMs going all the way through the piece and then back up. One last angle so that you can see it from all sides. I'm checking the divot there, holding my piece down. Slow RPMs to get started. All the way through. Soon you'll be able to hear RPMs, so I'm going to go ahead and just do it really loud to show you where you don't need to get to. So it doesn't need to be that high for what we're doing. So it's going to be slow, and then back off. This one, just barely pull down. I usually do it with 2 fingers so that I'm not like really trying to do that. The reason why we're doing that is because these bits could break really easily. If the bit wobbles at all, it's going to break. So that's why we make sure that we have it down in the divot, and we're going nice and easy down. Keep the RPMs going. It's still worth looking at the drill bit every once in a while to make sure that that this is still sharp, and you usually can kind of see it. So I look at that the moment that I take it out. And so I've taken this out, I put it back in the appropriate space. I'm going to put everything away. And then final little step is this makes really, really sharp metal. So I'm going to go ahead and get the broom right away. Get all my sharp pieces. And I do this every time. Put that guy back up where we know where it is. And that's it. Next stage. So this time I'll show my other saw frame. it's going to load the same way. So step 1 is to find that Christmas tree, point the blade straight towards you, load the top. Now with piercing, I'm going to load my piece with the design faced up and then get all of the tension off of the piece. So I usually am holding it next to the bench pin. And with this frame, I'm still pushing in a little bit and then tightening it. So then that's ready to go. Little burr life. And then I'm going to go through and cut the same way that we were before. This time I'm going to stay to the left side of the line. When it's coming out, I'm just making sure to get back at the back of my bench pin so that it breaks free into the wood and doesn't nick into my metal or my hand. Extra metal can be put in a scrap bin or used for something else. So now we have one of these cut out, and you can see while we're up close here, you can see that when I put my drilled hole in, I put it to the inside because I don't want the halo of that to show to the outside edge. So you can see that I don't have any halo of a drill bit showing on the edge of my little rockers there for my chair. So it needs to be to the inside, well to the inside, so that that geometry doesn't mess up your chair. So that is piercing. Same thing as sawing, but to the inside edge. There's piercing. Okay, let's do the last one. I'll go ahead and do the last one with my other saw frame just so that we can see a difference. And again, pattern side up. Release the pressure off of it. Tighten it down. I'm going to the inside edge of the line. And then see that I'm getting really close tight into the bench pin. This is just, I'm trying to prevent my little rocker edge from bending too much. Okay, so that's done. Double check and make sure I cut everything out that's supposed to be cut out. Great, and then it's kind of nice because this is already starting to peel up anyway. So I can take that paper off now. And then because I let that dry and get tacky before I put it on, I don't even have any residue on there. That's perfect. So I could certainly clean it, but I'm gonna just hammer this down a tiny bit just to get those little edges, and then I'll be ready to file it. So the next step in our chair is I'm going to just get some of those tiny dents out from how I was holding it down on the bench pin. So I've grabbed 2 rawhide hammers. One of the rawhide hammers has this forest green paint on it, and you can feel that it's really heavy, and then the other one doesn't have that. It's really light. So I'm going to use a rawhide hammer because I don't want to mar my material. And even though I could use the dead blow, that's a little bit more aggressive than what I need for my little tiny bends. So I don't want to create any new marks. So I'm going to use the rawhide mallet that does not have lead in it, that's not weighted. I'm just going to place it on the face of the anvil and just kind of tap down those couple of spots that I have. I might do a little dead blow too. Okay, and that'll do it.